This conference will now be recorded.
So today we'll have a surprise mock interview. So again, don't get scared. So for some of you, this might be new, right? So some of you might be joining your first class or second class or third class, but don't worry. So this is how we're going to take it forward. So whatever I have covered till now, I'm going to ask questions and you're going to reply back me with the answers. So the way we're going to take this forward is I'll ask a question. I'll give you ample time to answer that question. And you're going to reply back to me only in the chat box, no audio answers, please. And while sending the answers to me in the chat box, there is an option to send it only to the organizer. So don't send your answers to everyone. Please send it only to me so that I can keep track of your answers. Again, if you're not able to answer some of the questions, don't worry, because you're still in the learning phase, and make sure you get these learnings so that you don't repeat the same mistakes in the interview. So having said that, I'll ask a question, I'll give you ample time to answer that question, and send the answers only in the chat box, no audio answers, please. And when you're sending the answers in the chat box, there is an option to send it only to the organizer. So please make sure to send it only to me, not to everyone. Okay. So I'll start from very basic. So with whatever I've covered from right from my initial session, I'm going to start with that. So the first question goes this way: what are the master and slave demons in HDFS and MapReduce? As it is a simple question, you'll get 1 minute to answer this question. So again, please send the answers only in the chat box and don't send it to everyone. There is an option to send it only to the organizer. So send it only to me so that I can keep track of your answers. So your time starts now. 1 minute to go for this question. Again, if this is your first or second session, and if you don't know the answer yet, please don't worry, because you'll get all these learnings as we progress through. As last 10 seconds to go, and please send the answers only in the chat box, no audio answers, please, and send it only to me. There is an option to send it to organizer. Send it out only to me, not to everyone, so that I can keep track of your answers. Last 5 seconds to go. Okay, I think we are good. So let's see what are the master and slave demons. So in HDFS, the master demon is nothing but name node, and the slave demon is nothing but data node. And coming to MapReduce, the master demon is nothing but the job tracker, and the slave demon is nothing but the task tracker. So remember this. So these are fundamental concepts, right? So sometimes if the interviewers wanted to check how strong you are with respect to the fundamental concepts, they may ask you such questions. Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is a little tricky one. So you will get roughly 3 minutes to answer this question. I have a file of size, let's say 500 MB in HDFS. So how many blocks can be created from this file and what are their sizes? Again, this is a little tricky one. You'll get 3 minutes to answer this question. You have to tell me how many blocks and what are their sizes as well. It involves some calculations, hence you will get 3 minutes to answer this question. Your time starts now. Last 1.5 minutes to go. Last 30 seconds. Okay, guys, time up. So, so first of all, whenever you are given such question in the interviews, you have to ask one follow-up question to the interviewer asking which version of Hadoop are we using, right? So by default, most likely it will be Hadoop version 2.x. If they are not telling, then it should be considered as Hadoop version 2.x. So what is the default block size? So what is the default block size in Hadoop 2.x? It is 128 MB, right? So what is my file size? Here file size that we're dealing with is nothing but 500 MB. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the number of blocks. So how to get the number of blocks? Number of blocks equal to file size divided by default block size. So this you have to remember throughout your big data journey. You have to remember this formula. So file size is 500 MB and my default block size is 128 MB. So let's do this calculation. So I'm going to open my calculator. So 500 MB divided by 128. This will be 3.9, right? So 3.9. So when I say 3.9, it is very clear that I'll have three full blocks. That is, I'll have block 1, block 2, and block 3 of full capacity, which is nothing but 128 MB. But now I have to figure out the fourth block size. So block 4 is actually equal to file size minus sum of the sizes of all the remaining blocks. Sum of the sizes of all the remaining blocks, which is nothing but 500 minus 128 plus 128 plus 128. So this is equal to 500 minus 3 times 128. So let's do this calculation. So I'm going to multiply 128 into 3. So this will be 384. So 384. So if you do this calculation, it will be 116 MB. So to answer my question, totally we'll have 4 blocks and their capacities are block 1, block 2, block 3 of full capacity 128 MB, block 4 will be of size 116 MB. So now you have done this, but you're not sure whether you have done correct or not. Is there a way to verify? Yes. So how do we verify? So it's very simple. So to verify this, file size must be equal to sum of the sizes of all the blocks. So if you add 500, 500 is equal to 128 multiplied by 3 plus 116. So that is correct. Hence I can confirm that we have done correct, right? So if you add all of these, you should get 500 and you will get 500. We can do that calculation. So this is very, very important question pattern which I've seen in multiple interviews. So they may change this number. Instead of 500 MB, they'll give you 1 GB, or they may give you 800 MB, something like that, right? But if you know this process, you should be able to answer any question. This is very, very important interview question. And by the way, I'm looking at all of your answers. You guys are doing well, so keep doing. Right, so moving on to the next question. So the next question goes this way. Let me think about it. Hadoop. So this is, by the way, true or false statement. You have to tell me whether it is true or false. Hadoop gets the fault tolerance capability as the blocks are replicated. Hadoop gets the fault tolerance capability as the blocks are replicated. That is, every block is available in multiple copies. So you have to tell me whether it is true or false. Hadoop gets the fault tolerance capability as the blocks are replicated. So you have to tell me whether that is true or false statement. If you feel the statement is wrong, if you feel the statement is false, then come up with the correct statement. Okay, again, 1 minute to go. Last 10 seconds, guys. Okay, time up, folks. So, so the answer to this question is nothing but true, right? Because remember one important point: by default, the replication factor is nothing but 3. Remember this number. This number is important. So by default, replication factor is 3. That is, every block is available in 3 copies. So because of that, we get the fault tolerance capability in Hadoop. So the answer to this question is true. And what is the default replication factor? It is nothing but 3. That is, every block is available in 3 copies by default. Okay, so let's talk about some Linux concepts. So the question goes this way: tail command in Linux will display, I'll give you options, last 10 lines, first 10 lines, last 1 KB, first 1 KB. So this is the question. So tail command in Linux will display which of the following? So again, as it is a simple question, you will get 1 minute to answer this question. Yes, when you send the answers in the chat box, don't send it to everyone. There is an option to send it only to the organizer. Please send it only to me, not to everyone, so that I can keep track of our answers. Okay, last 10 seconds to go. Okay, guys, time up. So tail command in Linux will display by default last 10 lines of FL. Remember this. Okay, the next one is true or false statement. You have to tell me whether that statement is true or false. We can use rename command in Linux to rename a file or a directory. So this is true or false statement, whether it is true or false. So suppose if you think the statement is false, right, then come up with the correct statement. Time up, guys. So do you think this is the correct statement? It is not, right? Because there is no rename command in Linux. you have to use mv command itself, both to move the files as well as directories, rename the files and directories. Remember that. Okay. So then let's move on to the next one. How to see the hidden files and directories. How to see the hidden files and directories in Linux. I will give you options. ls-l, ls-h, ls-a, both B and C. Your time starts now. As it is a simple question, you will get 1 minute to answer this question. Okay, guys, last 10 seconds to go. Time up. So, guys, what's the answer to this question? The answer to this question is C, ls-a. So don't get confused with -h, because -h is for human readable way of seeing the sizes of the files. Whether the file is in MB or GB or TB, that's where you have to use -h. But whereas if you have to see the hidden files and directories in Linux, you have to use -a option. -a is what? -a is nothing but all files and directories. It will show your hidden files and directories as well as your regular files and directories. This is very important one. I know a lot of people might get confused with this, but now we are clear with this, right? So this is again true or false statement. Using cat command is preferred over head or tail command in Linux. So again, this is kind of true or false statement. You have to tell me whether this is a true or false statement. So your time starts now. 1 minute to go again. Okay, guys. So last 10 seconds to go. Time up. So the answer to this question is false, because I won't encourage you to go with cat command over head command or tail command, because by default it will display every content, all the content from the file. Hence, cat command is not preferred over head command or tail command in Linux. In fact, I would suggest to use either head command or tail command in Linux, not cat command, because that will display everything which may not be required for us. We can just go with either head or tail command, right? So now let's move on to the next one. So I'll focus on some Hadoop concepts now, Hadoop commands now. So let me think about the question. So a slight variation of the previous question. So tail command in Hadoop or in HDFS will display. Again, you have got 4 options. Your time starts now, 1 minute to go. Last 10 seconds, guys. So read the question carefully. Okay, time up. So tail command in HDFS will display last 1 KB of the file. Remember that by default. So now this is again very important question. What is the difference between put and get command? What is the difference between put and get? So this is again one of the widely asked interview question. So you can explain this in one line, right? What is the main difference between put and get? So last 30 seconds to go. I'm looking at all of your answers. You guys are doing well, so just keep doing. Again, some of you might be answering some questions wrong. Some of you might not know the answer. That is absolutely fine, because if you get the same question in the interviews, you should not miss the opportunity, right? So that's the main intention behind conducting these mock interviews. So don't feel bad if you're not able to answer. Don't feel bad if you're answering questions wrong. That's absolutely fine. You're still in the learning phase, and learn from this and don't repeat the mistakes in the interviews. So that's the whole intention behind these sessions. Okay, last 10 seconds to go. Okay, now I'll come up with answers. So put command is actually used to copy the files from, or files or directories. In fact, you can do both. Copy the files or directories from local file system. So when I say local file system, it could be Linux to HDFS. What about get? Get is opposite of put. So you copy the files or directories from HDFS to local file system. So this is very important question. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Again, a slight variation of the previous question. So head command in HDFS will display. So you have got 4 options. Again, let me tell you, there is a twist in the question. Read the question carefully and look at the options carefully. then tell me your answer. Your time starts now. Again, 1 minute to go. Again, let me tell you, there is a twist in the question. So you have to read the question, read the options, and then you have to come up with answer. Okay, last 10 seconds to go. Okay, guys. So the answer to this question is there is no direct head command in SDFS. So sometimes it's all about your confidence levels in interviews, right? Sometimes interviewer may wanted to confuse you by giving an option which may not contain the correct answer. Then you have to be confident enough to say that, okay, that the answer is this, right? So there is no direct head command in HDFS, but if you wanted to check the first 10 lines, you can do this by using this way, right? You can use HDFS plus DFS cat file name. Then you can use this symbol, this head command, so that you can see the first 10 lines of your file. But remember, there is no direct head command in HDFS. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to ask, guys. So basically, whenever I conduct mock interviews, whenever I conduct these surprise mock interviews, I'll keep it short. I'll keep only 10 questions so that will be kind of more focused. I'll be sharing all these questions and answers in a separate file so that you can keep it as reference for your interviews. And I hope you enjoyed it, right? So that's the whole intention behind this. You must have enjoyed this session, and also it's a kind of eye opener to you, right? So you will be able to decide or judge yourself better, whether you are putting correct efforts, whether you have to increase the efforts, or whether you have to go at the same pace, right? So you can judge yourself better than me, right? And also it's a kind of refresher for you. So I'll keep connecting these surprise mock interviews so that you can get better idea, right? So I hope you enjoyed it. That's all for today. So let us catch up tomorrow, right? I hope you found this session to be interesting. See you then. Bye. That's all for today, guys. See you tomorrow then. Bye bye.
Do you have recorded session for